Welcome to the Retail Reality Show.
Well, Dom earns the prize of the month for the best dancer in our jingle.
Sir. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Welcome to another episode of the Retail Reality Show. So we have an amazing guest and an even better dancer. But before we get to Dom, our guest today, I have my fantastic co-host with me, Yael. How are you today?
I'm good, Nino. How are you?
I'm fine. Busy week. I'm looking forward to the weekend. The sun is shining, so how can it be better?
What do you mean? You just had a long weekend.
That feels ages ago. Lots of stuff to do at the moment. Retail is busy, as you might know.
Yeah. Retail is always busy.
It's always on.
Yeah. So we have an amazing guest, and as I said, even better dancer. So we have Dominick Miserandino. I hope I pronounced that well, from RTM Nexus. Dom is in the industry for 30 years. Is a retail thought leader. You might know him from LinkedIn or
usually from LinkedIn,
from the world, from the retail conferences. He has a great perspective on media, and he's currently building a community at RTM Nexus. Welcome, Dom.
Thank you very much. Spot on, and you pronounce the name perfectly, so you're great.
Yeah. Maybe why don't you just quickly say a few words where you're coming from? You have been at the Wall Street Journal. I see so many waypoints in your career. So fill us in.
Thank you so much. I was in the media space for a few years, let's just say. And on the media space, I was always adjacent to retail because the retailers were calling me up to say, can you tell me your opinion on our latest product? After that, I was a CMO of some e-commerce and companies, helped bring a few e-commerce companies to exit. And now I have RTM Nexus, which is a nice little community, kind of connecting retailers, tech, and media companies together, which I kind of feel like is the intersection the consumer sees. The retailer makes it, the tech person helps sell it, and the media guy is the one saying why you should buy it.
Very good. And I mean, we had a few episodes on retail media. I think that's a very pressing topic for retailers out there. High margins, interesting monetization opportunities for data. But we will get to that in a sec.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But why don't
we are ready.
Why don't we start light, Dom? We'll give you a light start just to get into things. So just
until the coffee kicks in. I love it.
Exactly. We're trying to make it easy for you before we dive into the serious stuff.
I'm ready.
So tell me your personal preference with shopping, online or in store?
It used to be online because during COVID, I didn't want to see anybody. And then I think it's interesting because the media side of it certainly touched on the experiential. If there was so many experiential moments I went through for the past few years. And I really feel like most shoppers, that's where it's moving towards anyway. That's why we shop. I mean, you could buy, if it was the product was based upon simply the transaction, we would all just go to eBay and buy the cheapest thing and just have it show up.
Exactly. And maybe we wouldn't even buy so much, right? I mean, half the things we're buying, we don't even need them.
Absolutely. But it's that tangible experience. It's that test driving of the car. It's that pop-up store. That's the Harry Potter experience. All those things make you say, I'm just laughing thinking now my kid was saying, I can't wait to go to Spirit Halloween. She doesn't want to go to buy that thing. She wants to go to be in it. And that's all we all want to do in the world. And that's, I think, maybe the media side that started it for me is we all want to connect. That's all we want to do.
Exactly.
Well said.
So that leads us to the next one, Walmart or Amazon? The eternal fight.
Oh, the eternal fight. I think the fight there is actually, to me, an operational fight. Who can get that stuff down in your palm of the hands or down your throat faster and better? I'm curious to see who gets even more efficient, and you're seeing drone delivery. But I think the whole, unfortunately, get to harder topics, tariffs is going to definitely be the factor in there. we have gotten way too used to with the recent 24-hour deliveries and such. We are used to that immediacy. And I mean, you guys are overseas. How often do you run to people who compare their experience to your experience? Like, can you get in 2 hours? Can you get in 1 hour? Or that, I think, is going to be whoever wins the fight, whoever can get in your hands faster, quicker. But that's the nature of that. That's not as experiential. You're not going to a Walmart for the Walmart. I actually do, but most people don't.
So I heard Walmart, right?
It's a tough one. It's a very tough one because I can't see which one is going to win the battle on the tariffs. That's the question. Yeah, I'm stuck in blind on that until I could see the future. That's my answer.
I think it's also not an either or, right? I mean, it really depends on what you need, when you need it, and
Sure.
Yeah.
different experiences. And last but not least, is the vast media publication.
I think what makes the world amazing is that you can jump on Google News and read 50 articles in 10 seconds. You can read, I read news in other languages. I am constantly getting different perspectives. And I think we are now at the point in human experience, which I love. You take it all. If you said to me before our call, Dominic, I need you to speak about XYZ. I'm not reading one article. I'm not listening to one podcast. I am maybe during my run, I'm going to listen to 3 podcasts at the time. That's what's great is that especially my first move, Google News. My first move is I go to Google News and I'm like, what is that? I just did it now in the other window. What is that thing? And you're looking and go, okay, stock futures up. I'm seeing, this, and this, and this, or Dollar General. And what's cool is also you always not only getting those different perspectives. It starts when you paint with 10 different paintbrushes.
Exactly.
You start to say, oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, I never like, and in fact, a famous quote I was proud of. I was interviewed when I was running mainstream media, the Celebrity Cafe. An interview was like, are you okay being the 7th largest entertainment magazine? I said, am I okay with it? I said, I'm dancing because the average consumer is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm on that list, and I know that's how consumers, it's not like 30 years ago when, I don't know if you had this experience, but I know growing up, you would get that newspaper on the front door and you'd read that one publication and you had nothing. So I actually am very much an advocate. You read the media side, the podcast side, go to LinkedIn and read what Yael had to say, or what Nino had to say about this. And you take all that information and make a really smart decision as opposed to any singular outlet.
Well, in any case, very soon we're all going to only consume whatever LLMs tell us, and that's it. But
No,
I wanted to
fight
see
the power.
as a former CEO of one of those publications, I wanted to see if you kind of keep the nostalgia.
That would be my answer all above. That would always be my answer. You always, because remember, you're also speaking to a man who was president of the press club of Long Island at one point. Media in general has to be encouraged. You never isolate. It does not grow a healthy media. You always encourage conversation. So there's always a perspective I never got in media in general, which is a singular. It doesn't work. You have to have a healthy conversation, A to B to C to D.
So speaking about conversations, the main conversation in the retail space today is all about tariffs. And, we hear the news and one day it's 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. And the other day it's 150% on China. And that's a really big deal for the US retailers, especially those with small margins. How do you see sourcing and pricing strategies evolving in real time due to all this news that keep happening every day?
I think that I've been very lucky that I'm getting on TV about the tariffs every week. I'm on national TV. And the biggest question when it comes to the tariffs is the predictability. Similar to, God forbid, war and everything, you always want to know when will this end or
Yeah.
what will it be. And for retail, and in particular tariffs, it's sometimes, to me, if you know what's going to happen, the challenge is, number one, the tariffs are based upon a president, in this case, a singular entity. And number two, that entity, generally speaking, gets reelected every 4 years. So I think every retailer is saying to themselves, how long will this last? Do I have to, and if I build a factory and it's going to last greater than the next term, do I need to do that? And generally factories take 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the complexity, of course. So the biggest issue is just that communication, which is, I think, what's getting lost in the equation. Because every time we turn it on and off, it's almost like when your little kid flips the radio volume on and off, and you're like, just whatever it is, turn on the channel, stop switching the channels when this is a 7-year-old. It's kind of that situation where retailers, I'm concerned, are on a pause right now. Saying,
it's the uncertainty that, and I think at the end of the day, the solution that a lot of the retailers are taking is, raising the prices for the consumers, but it's not all across the board. Like we see, Walmart and Best Buy indicated potential price increases, while others like Amazon, like Home Depot have not. And, according to NRF, 90% of the retailers are saying that the new tariffs lead to higher consumer prices. But is this really the only way to deal with the situation?
I mean, sadly, if your supply chain goes up, there's not many other levers to move there. I am advising one retailer, and her margin was so tight, she's dead. There was just no option. There was no success there. She, once the tariff gets to that 100%, she cannot live. And I'm seeing that story more than that one instance. I get a lot of inbound calls from e-commerce companies. I'm on a few board of directors, and they'll say, "What do we do?" That becomes a challenge. What my advice for her would,
of course, and it's also not just the small ones. You can even look at Target. Target, their share dropped 20%. They reported a 3.1% drop in sales. But is this really, tariffs are not even at full, they're not really fully activated yet. So they're obviously calling tariffs as the main reason for the losses. But is this really the main reason, or is it just an excuse for poor decision making?
I think it is. Uncertainty is the main reason, in the sense that if you said, we guarantee tariffs will be for the next
4 years.
Yeah. You're going to now say, okay, wait a minute. I got a reality to deal with. But the other challenge is, as opposed to any other part in human history, we are now completely intertwined. Our society is. I've spoken, Yael, to yourself in the past year in a very happily casual manner. And what I mean by that is, though, like, hey, what's going on? That didn't happen in human history. In the past 10 years, you couldn't just call someone to do a video call 5 years ago, 7, 10 years ago. When it comes to retail, you could not get a product from Temu on your doorstep in 2 days for $5. Like, that is not reality. Even if you go back 80s and 90s, your supply chain was very identifiable. You knew exactly. And when I say identifiable, I think that's the other challenge. You have, I was reading an article, which I loved, about peaches that were getting picked in South America, shipped to Asia to be canned, then labeled somewhere else, and then shipped back here.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
It's crazy.
It makes sense in the terms of a global market. And all we did, I think you have all these gears moving, we put a wrench in all the gears saying, stop, let's figure it out. And that's kind of where we are right now, trying to identify how this all maneuvers. And to the consumer endpoint, they don't need to know this. They just want to see their product appear on their doorstep from a magic drone quickly.
Tom, I want to switch gears and remove the wrench, actually
Remove the
accelerating.
wrench.
Actually, a topic that accelerates the gears, AI. I saw you a lot on the web talking about AI. I think retailers, if you take Walmart, if you take, I don't know, brands like Ralph Lauren, Adidas, or in Germany, we have many supermarkets that kind of switch gears and invest heavily in supply chain, inventory forecasting, dynamic pricing, or more the consumer journey, where they do more personalized recommendations, where they hand over. So me working at Salesforce, we see a lot of agents, as we call them now, taking over customer service, autonomously fulfilling FAQs that we get a lot in retail. But on the other hand, if you look at studies, only 28% of companies say they fully trust their AI decisions. So,
which also tells you what the consumer trusts. But yes,
yeah, I mean, if you look at those studies, I think there's a lot of mistrust. So, why do you think is that, and what's holding the retailers back?
I feel like when I look at AI, I compare it to social media, video streaming, the internet in general. Whenever we have a technological advance, we go all in. We go crazy. Streaming, I mean, I cannot even remember how many streaming channels there was at one point. Video streaming, the Disney Plus, the Netflix, and then you have those survivors, social media, and everyone has a social media channel. I helped run a video streaming social channel at one point, And I think with AI, we go crazy, in terms of let's use it to write all our content and do all our videos and answer all our phone calls and then analyze. And the reality is always the same. The reality is you're pushing it all the way. Maybe I'm at the end of the screen here, which should be. You push it right to that end, and then you have to pull to whatever that function is. AI agents, we're getting used to them already. We're kind of used to that concept of hit zero and screen for an operator if it's that bad. Otherwise, let the AI handle it. We're excited when we see Google Voice start booking reservations for us without even calling. That's interesting. And I think it's just identifying how far we're pushing it and knowing it's going to contract, because it always contracts. There's never always 800 streaming services and 800 social media platforms. There's always X number of them, whatever that X may be. Because it is a wonderful tool. Also when it comes to AI, I tell people it needs to be a prosthesis, an extension of the human. It needs to simply allow the human to work faster and better. AI agents are a great example at first. Until they're a replacement for the human, you're never going to have an AI agent discuss how a customer feels about the situation and why they're angry and upset.
Yep.
So you have to just consider within, and you kind of see it. You see how far it goes, you see how tight it is, and you look for that point in the middle, that nebulous point.
When you look at, because we were just discussing customer service, but if you look, for example, pick Amazon again from our introduction and look at their warehouses, I think they have now 750,000, I read somewhere, operating robots in their fulfillment centers. So AI teamed up with robotics, which kind of has a even bigger, let's say, disruptive momentum. So what do you think? Is this the beginning of a fully robotic retail backbone that has a big implication also on the cost basis of those retailers?
Yes. And, I'm pointing to other examples, maybe because of the media background. You see stories and you see how it's all told. The retail story of robotics is connected to the recent sensitive topic of war in Ukraine. The entire recent Ukraine moment with the 30% of the bombers being destroyed by drones. It's robotics. It's AI. So I think we're all as a society seeing evidence of it, and one part of the story is starting to tell the other. I enjoyed actually speaking to that also when I said about you brought up the Walmart and Amazon. I was in Miami and almost got hit by a little drone driving by to deliver food. And it makes me think we're seeing those experiments and those evidence of connecting this dot to that dot, if you will.
Mm. What's because you just said that with the little drone. What's your favorite test or your favorite pilot that you have seen in the US? You're living in New York. Probably you see a lot of those pilots and what the big retailers are doing in small areas of New York or the state. Just fill us in. What's coming?
Well, first of all, I'm seeing better outside New York because New York is a different animal. Meaning New York City itself it's New York City. The Miami example was interesting. I love what Waymo is doing with the driverless cars in Phoenix. And I think that's where the stage we are. You're seeing these micro markets saying, what can we do with this pilot program? Waymo is really curious. It's going to take a lot more data. It's probably going to take a gajillion more miles, not officially gajillion, to figure out. I even just saw this pilot recently where they're trying to build tunnels to connect the warehouse underground straight to where the delivery point is, and like little Christmas car trains.
Well,
and I thought there's a brilliance there. Another guy was discussing a pilot, and I don't know if you know, there's pneumatic tubes all through Manhattan, still, where you used to drop the mail in, and it would go right through the tube, right to the place. And I found that such a funny concept that pneumatic tube from, I don't know, the 20s, 30s, I'm not an expert in pneumatic tubes, is now there's a guy looking saying, wait a minute, can I do micro deliveries throughout Manhattan by dropping an AI adapted tube that will know exactly where to send this? And then you walk downtown Brooklyn to get your aspirins that were delivered from a tube that came from Jersey City. So I do think there's also that element. I won't say old becomes new, but we're always striving to the same concept of connecting. That's probably why I was always in media of some form of connecting people. That's my new company, connecting people. And I think the pilots that are keeping that in mind and keeping in reality are really doing amazing stuff.
Maybe let's talk a bit about store closures. And obviously, back before COVID, there were a lot of talks about the retail apocalypse and how a lot of stores are closing. And it turns out, the second COVID ended, people were running back to the stores and physical retail wasn't going anywhere. I mean, where are we now with this? I mean, I saw numbers that between CVS, Rite Aid, and Family Dollar, nearly 1,500 stores are closing only in the US in 2025. Is this really, another stage in the way to the apocalypse, or is it just like a long due reset?
I don't think it's either. And what I mean by that is, like, you'll see there's a lot of news articles I'm in. Is this the retail apocalypse? Dominick Miserandino quotes. It reminds me, same with Y2K, and it reminds me, there are always readjustments. And there is, I think half the answer comes out of we still have that human need. Dollar General stores, I was quoting a lot of articles on those. Those Dollar General and dollar store closings affect communities. If you ever been to upstate New York and there's the Catskills, there's towns. It is just the dollar store. That's it. You want to get an aspirin, it's there. Eventually that need is still there. Eventually that person has to be there. Now maybe the answer becomes everything we were just discussing, the drones, and that community gets fulfilled by a
Exactly. I mean,
drone
now you
drop
can
off.
get your tablets with the, I don't know, with Deliveroo or Uber or
Exactly.
whatever.
And I think we always find, I'm not worried until we stop trying to find the answers. You have to always find the answer. You still, and I think that finding the answer, the question is, how do you serve that other person? How are you good? If you have a community in upstate New York and they lost their dollar store, the needs are A, the product, and B, the employment. Now, if that is replaced by another store physically, if that's replaced by a drone delivery service, I love what they're doing in places in Asia where you'll have drones drop off to a central location. So maybe your store stock is 100 miles away and they're just constantly delivering that. And then there's one
Yeah,
employee
or an
there.
autonomous car that's
Could be.
once a week with the medicine or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I don't ever see it as apocalypse, but I do think the phrasing should more so be, I'm worried about the droughts. And when I say by drought, until we solve it, you have a community sitting there who might not have that store. You have that mother who can't get milk. And so I don't think, apocalypses imply, the ultimate wipeout moment. And I view it more as you're having these societal growth hiccup where we have to solve.
Yeah.
And we do solve as a society. But during that pain point, real people suffer. And to me, that's the focal point. And that's a horrible thing when you have people in general in the middle of this where we see this, but they're there. And they're really not happy looking for their glass of milk or whatever, aspirins or whatnot. So my hope in all this is we know where we're going. The world's not ending with such things. We do reinvent. Human society reinvents. We go from a wheel to a cart to a horse-drawn carriage to a train. That's what society does. But there's these moments that I think we all need to work and figure out how do we close those gaps tighter than they are right now.
I think that's also me coming from a retail household. That was always the case for retail, reinvention and always catering to the needs of the consumers, what they want. And I think you can also see that because Yael mentioned store closures. I can also see a lot of store openings, also in bigger German or European cities, which are not, let's say, a better warehouse with some access door. It's actually experience centers. If you're in the US, I think it was Dick's Sporting Goods where you have climbing walls. I mean, the Sephora story is even old, where you have face scans and AI tools now where you can apply makeup without really applying it. So you do. But my question is this sustainable or is this just gimmicks to?
I wouldn't give an either premise. I think it's a response to that gap of, in this case, COVID. COVID, we have no experience. We have no personal. We are locked away. And then society went, wait a minute, I like talking to people. I like really getting in it. Now we're all experiential. I would argue COVID pushed experiential to the level it is. But, this is a very philosophical, which I love, conversation on societal growth and business growth and your experience. That's what happens. We have a moment and we all say, wait, I don't like this moment. It makes me uncomfortable or sad, or how do we readjust? And then we, in fact, actually come to think, every part of this conversation has illustrated how do we readjust to this. I don't get my deliveries quick enough. We're doing AI drones. I don't. I have this isolate. I really miss COVID. We have, the experiential. I don't like getting media in one source. We have Google News and this news and that news, and everything gets. So fortunately, society does that, and I have hope for society that we get there. my concern is how quickly we see it and how dramatic
Yeah.
we get in terms of apocalypses. I've yet to see, thank God, that degree of a Middle Ages level apocalypse where society falls back.
No, I agree, of course. The media being provocative. But speaking about provocative media, the headlines just a few weeks ago were all obsessed about the scandal with Cole's leadership and what eventually made their CEO resign. And now a new executive coming from Walmart is stepping in to clean the mess. What do you think about that? Like, what could they have done differently to avoid the situation?
Well, first of all, we are all responsible for provocative media because the media makes the provocative and the humans read it. It's human nature to love that element of it. And in general, there's a solution to provocative from a business end to me, and that solution is transparency. When you're dropping a little story, you wouldn't believe what Yael did last week. There is a solution to douse that flame, which is transparency. Yeah, I went to the store. Like that's all I did. I see that, you're seeing these headlines. Yeah, I'm reading them on purpose. Cole CEO fired for steering business to a person with the outer relationship. The more you attempt to be like, didn't happen, no way. I think we're also seeing a degree of it with, current politics, where what they're doing now is saying, yeah, we're doing this. Have a nice day. Now, I don't know if we should go to that extreme again. Obviously, I'm a very big advocate to getting back to a middle point of view. But that's the solution to scandal, is that you're just honest, transparent, and say, this is what's happening. And I think Yael just muted herself.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know what
I want to
happened.
hear your thoughts.
No, I was saying that, yeah, you own up to it, right? If you made a mess, you should own up to it. But I mean, is it really that terrible? And for our listeners that are not aware of the situation, there was a scandal of leadership at Kohl's that were mixing business and pleasure, let's say it lightly, and were keeping their relationship secretive. And honestly, I'm not sure why at this point. I mean, it's better to come out and be upfront about things and make people aware of those conflicting interests and let them decide if they want to do business with you or not, instead of hiding things. But as from a media standpoint, like, what could they have done to avoid the messy situation?
Well, see, we're saying transparency, and the other reason we're saying it is a small world.
Yeah.
I just looked on LinkedIn. I am personally connected with almost every player in that circumstance. I have messages. I mentioned politics. I have emails and for people in the White House right now, like phone numbers. And it's not as much the brag as much as a small world. I have every email I've ever sent literally saved. I have no exaggeration, decades of emails. And it amazes me how we don't remember that, because I think that is the other part. We are handling media and scandal as if we are in 1996 perpetually. Yeah. You are in a world where everything is out there. Everything is searchable. AI has read every book I've ever written. AI has read every article. I enjoy or get freaked out when I say, has Dominick Miserandino done? And of course AI, so it's accurate only 1% of the time, but
maybe 5.
But I think that is the filter you have to consider. Nino right now is, I see social media, etc., and you have to say to yourself, I better not do A, B, and C, because 40 years from now where I am at a point in my life I don't expect to be, and you're running for office, and someone's going to, in 4.5 seconds, find this interview, and you say...
Someone will ask the LLM, give me a brief on Nino. What's his dirty little secrets of the past?
And that's where we're at. You could see the connections. You could see the relationships. It is there. We are all obviously Googleable. We are all connected. And what do you do with that? So I think it's just understanding that filter. It's understanding how people operate. You know, you have to work under that mindset. Sorry. That mindset now. And we're not when it comes to media in general.
Dom, we are getting fast to the end of this amazing conversation. You're very close. You're in the retail industry. You're very close to innovation. So fill us in. What do you think is one of the biggest hyping trends in retail right now?
I was about to say AI, like I recently saw this one tech I just loved. It would look and do the survey data for the customers who walk in, what aisles they walk down, analyze men walk down this aisle, women walk down this aisle. But while I was thinking, and you reminded me of our earlier part of our conversation, experiential. We almost go back to that. All the technology in the world, we still go back to the concept of a spirit Halloween where you're like, I just want to feel like Halloween today, or a Christmas shop. How many times do you go traveling and all around the world and there's a Christmas shop and everybody's like, I want to feel like Christmas is July. So I do think it's kind of that combination though. Those tech companies which allow us to get closer, maybe the delivery faster, be able to have that Christmas party at home and get the product on your front door. Those guys, I feel like, are really interesting, and we're just at that moment now where we have the tech. We are seeing that ability to scale things. I'm seeing it firsthand. I'm getting tons of thank God, outreach, and that's what I do with the new company, connect people. And when they're saying, can you connect? And then you can use technology to help people connect faster. Great, let's do an event. We're going to do a launch one right now in Austin, Texas, or New York, or whatever. And this is how we will use technology to expedite that. And then that is where it starts getting interesting, where you can use the tech to get back to that human experience, which is all what we all want.
Exactly. Well, Dom, final question for you, and that's usually the question we finish all interviews with. So
a lot of pressure.
I'd love to hear your perspective. If you were mentoring one of the biggest retail CEOs today, what would be the first advice you would give him or her?
Sit in the lobby. Sit in the lobby. My greatest and smartest business choice. I was the CMO of Adorama Picks, and I moved my laptop to the lobby for a few days. And customers walked in. I started studying Yiddish just to talk to some of the Orthodox clients. And I speak with them. And there was also a Latino community, and I speak Spanish. But by being there, I worked on the floor of the factory, and I spoke to the guys producing the product. I think at times we approach problems from that 50,000-foot point of view, and you still can do so, and you should do so. You still need to touch the ground every so often. That's my perspective.
I think
so
that's
be in the field. That's what you're saying.
Not in the home office.
No, you get right down and dirty, and you see what's happening, and then you use your 50,000 to know, how do you support those troops? How do you support those ground troops?
Amazing advice.
Thank you.
Well, Dom, thank you so much for spending some quality time with us today.
Thank you.
We hope that you enjoyed it.
I loved it, and I'm very appreciative, and I feel like our worlds have been I'm so glad to do this. That's amazing, and have the conversation with you, Nino, and Yael. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, and good luck with your conference.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it all.